we are doing the recursive formula today. Once again, it's not cursive. It's not, the writing that you all can't read anymore. So here is our formula. Today we're working with arithmetic sequences. Make sure you write that down. Tomorrow I told you we're doing geometric. Okay, so if we have a recursive formula, it gives us two pieces of information. It tells us the first term and the pattern rule. Now, do you all know what a pattern rule is? What does a pattern rule stand for? Yeah, so what does that mean, Diego? It follows what? It repeats. It's a constant. Remember when I was adding, subtracting a constant value, or for geometric, multiplying and dividing. So if I have a recursive formula, it gives me the first term, and it tells me what my pattern rule is. So either what I'm adding and subtracting by, or what I'm multiplying and dividing by. So in order to find the recursive formula of an arithmetic sequence, you need two items. So we have the sequence itself. And to write the recursive formula, the first thing you write is the first term. And then you write your pattern rule, okay? So take a minute to copy this down, and then we'll get into some examples. Today I have 8 examples for you. Half of them are we do's, half of them are you tries, okay? So as you're writing this, what I always like to write first when I'm doing the recursive formula is I always write f of 1 equals on my paper, because I always need this part. And then I write f of n equals f of n minus 1, because I also always need that part. Those things never change. The only thing that does is my first term and my pattern rule, okay? So those things, this is pretty much our generic formula for everything. So I have an example for you now. We're starting with example 5. I don't know what happened to the first 4, so just go with it. We're going to start with example 5. I want to find the recursive formula of the arithmetic sequence, and my sequence is 20, 26, 32, and 38. Okay, so those are the first 4 terms of a sequence. Now, we are doing recursive today. Can you guys remind me what the name of the other formulas were that we used the last couple of days? It starts with an E. Explicit. Those of you saying arithmetic and geometric, those are our kinds of sequences, but our formulas are explicit or recursive, okay? So it says find the recursive formula. Remember, I told you guys every time I see that, I always write f of 1 equals and f of n equals f of n minus 1. I always start with that part. Okay. What is f of 1? What does that tell me I need to find? The first term. And what about the second line? What does that one tell me? I need to find my constant value, which we call our pattern rule, okay? So, what is my first term?
20.
Okay, so let's write that down. And then, how do I get from 20 to 26? And 26 to 32? And 32 to 38? I add 6, add 6, add 6. Okay, I'm going to write a plus 6. And then I'm going to box it because that's my answer and I'm done. That's the answer. Yeah, really.
Wow, this was so easy.
You don't change it. See, isn't that what I said? You just don't change anything. You just write the answer. See, and that's what my other classes said too. The catch is we're now able to convert between forms, but that's really not that difficult because all of the forms have the same pieces. There's going to be a catch to the catch. We'll see. Okay, do we have questions on the first example?
No.
Jessica, are you okay?
Yeah.
You have a question? Or just like appeared? Because it was so simple, yes. The f of 1, the 2 lines, that's the whole recursive formula.
This is the formula?
That is the formula. So what that means is I'm giving you the first term, and then every time I will just add 6. That's what the second line says. So f of 1, my first term is 20, and then the second line says add 6 every time, so I can find all the rest of my terms. Okay? Now, number 6, or our second example. Here's our sequence, 9, -1, -11, -21. And we have to find some information. And I always write this down, like I said, because it never changes. And then all I have to fill in is my new information. What is the first thing I need to find? My first term, which is what? 9. Awesome. Okay, and then what else do I have to find? The pattern rule. And how do I get from 9 to -1 and -1 to -11?
Subtracting 10.
Subtract 10. So that is going to be my second answer. Were these two okay so far?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to give you 1 minute because this is so easy. That's what you just told me. That's a piece of cake. You can do it in your sleep. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do the next 2 U tries, okay? Are you done writing so I can go to the U tries?
Yes.
So you have 1 minute to do these U tries. And then when you're done, put your pencils down so I know. Okay? Please do these 2 U tries. Okay, do one last check of these answers. If you and your neighbor were both right, I want you to make eye contact with them and give them an air high five across the room. If you were both right, make eye contact with your neighbor and give them an air high five across the room. And don't hit the person sitting next to you. Be careful. Okay, can I move on? How are we feeling so far out of 5? Show me. About recursive so far. This is the quote-unquote curveball, okay?
So we're adding more to the...
We're adding one more thing to it, okay? Here's the catch. Okay, there's always a catch, but you guys think it's bigger than it will be. Okay, so on example 9, I am given h of 1 equals 75, and h of n equals h of n minus 1 minus 10, which is my recursive formula, right? We just created all of those. What am I asking you to do on number 9? What are we doing? Finding the explicit formula, which is what we've been practicing. That's what we already know how to do, okay? So remember, yesterday I gave you formulas for using the 0 term and the first term for arithmetic and geometric. So I can either A, use the 0 term, plus, and I'm going to write 0 term, or I can B, use the first term. Remember we were practicing this yesterday? Yes, Diego.
Can you just add?
What do you mean?
75, minus, isn't 75 your first one?
Yes, you can. So are you saying you want to write it using the 0 term? Okay, we can. Can we do the first term first and then we'll do the 0 term after that? Okay. So if I'm using the first term, I have h of n equals, what is m? What is my pattern rule for this problem? What is my pattern rule? What am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing by each time? -10. That's my pattern rule. Do you guys agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm using my first term, I have minus 10 or -10 times n minus 1, because that part's always the same. And then plus, what's my first term?
75.
Plus 75. That would be 100% on that question. That is an answer. That is my first term explicit formula. Now, Diego said, can we use the 0 term? Can we find the 0 term?
Yes.
Yeah. That takes one more step, but does that mean you're wrong? No. Okay. So let's say I want to use the 0 term. Now, everything else is pretty much the same, right? I have h of n equals. What is my m value? What's my pattern rule?
75.
My pattern rule. It's still -10. Do I write n minus 1 when I'm using the 0 term? No. What do I write instead? Just n. And is my 0 term 75? No. Okay, so if I wrote this as a sequence, which you don't have to do, I'm subtracting 10 each time, right? So then how would I find my 0 term? I have to add 10. So what is my 0 term? 85. So then I would put a plus 85. So both of those are correct answers. Does that make sense? Is this okay?
Yes.
Was that too much of a catch?
No.
No. Okay. What is number 10 asking me for? That one's a little bit different. Find the recursive formula. And what formula am I given this time?
Explicit.
Thank you, Danielle. Do we agree with Danielle? It's the explicit?
Yes.
Okay, so when I see find the recursive, this is where I always, oh, and actually, I think I've been writing F all day. It should be H. I always write H of 1 equals and H of n equals H of n minus 1, because now all I have to do is fill in my first term and my pattern rule. Do I know my first term from this explicit formula? No, I don't. Because which term does this explicit formula use?
0.
It uses the 0 term, and I know that because it's just n by itself. Now, yesterday, didn't I ask you find the 5th term? And I said find the 7th term.
Yeah.
And then I said find the 50th term in the warm-up. How did you find each of those terms? Plug in those numbers for n, right? So if I say find the first term, what are we going to plug in? We're going to plug in 1 for n. So I have 64 plus 6 times what gets plugged in? 1. So 64 plus, what's 6 times 1? 6. So what's 64 plus 6? 70. So what's my first term? 70. Okay, awesome. And what is my pattern rule? It is a plus 6. So that's going to be my final answer, okay? Does that make sense? Do you have questions right now? Do you have a question, Josh? Are you sure? Okay. Are you ready to try a you try? No, they're going to be just like the ones we just did. Yeah, I just did these and you watched me. We did them together, but now I want you to try it on your own. Yes. Okay, is anyone still copying this, or can I put up those 2 questions? I can put them up now? Okay. Use these examples as a reference. Please do these last 2. When you're done, don't pack up. Because you always do that and I tell you not to. Okay? When you're done, just put your pencil down so we can wait for our neighbors to finish too, okay? Okay, pass your notebook to your neighbor to the left.
Your left side.
Okay, have we all traded our notebooks? Okay, now your neighbor is going to check your U-tries for you, okay? If they got it completely correct, you can give them a smiley face and write good job. If they mixed something up, I want you to turn to them and help them figure out what they did wrong, and then you can give them a smiley face and a good job, okay? So here are your answers. Please check them. The only other thing that I would accept... I'll wait. The only other thing I would accept on example 11 is if you wrote this. It's the same thing, okay? Yes, that's the same. Yes, Jessica, what question do you have? Let's go over number. What's the problem with number 12? Because what is the value attached to my n? It's the one that's touching the variable, because remember that's my slope. That's how much I changed by. That's my m value. Okay, check your neighbor's work. Help them figure out what they did wrong. Sounds like we made some mistakes. Yes. No, but if you did, it's not wrong. Okay, so on number 11, you could have not put plus 0, or you could have put plus 0, okay? Give them a smiley face and write good job. Pass their notebook back to them. Okay, that is all we are doing for the day. You guys got lucky.